Hey guys, it's Julien, and today I'm going to be showing you how to make techno like Enrico Sangiuliano. I hope I pronounced that right. Anyway, as usual, you get the project file and the samples from this video in the description, and if you're a patron on my Patreon, check there because they will be available shortly. Let's get started. So we're at 128 BPM, this is what you heard in the intro, and the first sound we have here is this Pluck, which sounds like this. So the way that I made this, I will show you the notes first. Basically, it's just playing this pretty simple thing where it's playing like this note all the way through, this D sharp, and then I have these bottom notes kind of changing. So like we have like A sharp, then it goes up to A, or then it goes up to B, and then it goes down to G sharp. And then the notes down here are just these root notes in octave down. Just to kind of add some like fatness to the sound. Here's without those. You can hear it's kind of thin. When we bring them back in, it sounds a lot more full. I've also got these little things just kind of jumping up there. And one thing I will point out with this is you can see all the 16 notes in here are swung. So we're on the 16th note grid. And you can see like all of these are being pushed back slightly. So this just kind of creates a more like swung groove, which I noticed in a lot of Enrico's tracks. And it's definitely like not the most common thing in techno. Like if you listen to this, it almost kind of has like a housey groove, but it definitely sounds pretty cool and pretty unique when you do use it in techno. So for the sound on this one, I made it in analog. We've got two saw waves here. You can see those are going into this low pass filter. The filter's got a bit of an envelope on it. After that, we get the amp envelope set like this. Then the last thing inside of analog here is just a bit of vibrato. So you can see I've got that at 59%, rates at like 5.1. I'll turn it all the way up so you can kind of hear what it's doing. So you can hear, it's just adding a bit more like kind of a warped sound to this Pluck. After that, we've got this echo doing eighth notes and this reverb, which is set like this. You can see these are just here for like space. Here's without them. I really like that like very epic sound of the super cascading echoes and the reverb. You can also see that I've got the left and right ear doing two different things on the echo. So this one is doing dotted eighth notes, and the right ear is doing regular eighth notes. That gives it that kind of big stereo feel that you hear. After that, we have got a bit of saturation, some drum bus, and an OTT. And what I'm doing with these are just kind of beefing it up. Here's what this sounds like without these. You can hear it's very thin. And it just really sounds like very dry and like just straight out of the synth. And this is kind of an issue. It's like a lot of times, you know, when you use synths, even analog synths, is like they can have this kind of very just clean and like dry and sort of dull sound. And so that's what these are here for. So I'll kind of turn them on one by one and show you. So you can hear the saturator kind of fattens it up a little bit, and then the drum bus kind of takes it, you know, the last little bit of the way. And then the final thing on there is just the OTT, which is really just pulling everything out. OTT, if you don't know, is a preset for Ableton's multiband dynamics. There it is right there. And what I've done here is I've taken this. It's this really over-the-top multiband compression where it just basically grabs every little frequency that isn't as loud as like the main sort of characteristic ones of your sound and just pulls them up in volume. And what I've done here is I've just taken this and I've turned the time up, so it's not affecting the time. It's not like actually compressing it. It's just kind of changing it sonically. And then we've also got the amount at like 48%. So this is just, you know, adding that last little bit. But you can hear these three things really help, and these are really essential. Like you don't want your synths to just be dry. And even if you have like an echo and a reverb, it really helps to have stuff like this on afterwards to kind of beef it up. So then after that, I've got this auto pan here. You can see I've got this on the saw wave. We've got it inverted, and I've got the phase on 0, and it's on quarter notes. So this is doing the kind of side chaining you hear. I didn't want to side chain everything to the kick. I just thought it would be kind of weird sounding. So I'm using this to kind of simulate a side chain. And then the last thing we have on here is just an EQ8 cutting out the low end. So the next thing we have here is the bass, which sounds like this. So this is a pretty simple like respace kind of sound. I will show you the notes first. It's just playing this kind of thing in D sharp minor. You see it starts on D sharp minor there, and then it's going up to G sharp, and then, yeah, pretty simple stuff. The only thing I will say is you can see like the placement of the notes is pretty important. So if I play this for you with the kick, you can hear we get kind of a cool groove when this starts, like that little eighth note before the bar there. Like if we do something like this, it's a little boring. So yeah, I recommend trying this. Like if you have these longer kind of bass lines like this, try having some of the notes go like a little bit before when you would expect them. So for the sound on this one, I made it using operator. What we've got is, you can see, we've got 2 saw waves here. I've got the second one detuned a little bit. I've also got these playing with this FM algorithm, so it's not doing any actual FM. It's just kind of playing them side by side. We got those going into a low pass filter, pretty simple respace kind of stuff. You can see I've got it on the 12 dB low pass filter, a little bit of resonance on there as well. After that, we've got a bit of saturation. You can see I've got the drive up like that to kind of beef it up. Here's without it. And then with it. And then the last thing we have on here is just an auto pan doing another one of those sort of like faux side chains. And then we have this EQ8, which is cutting out around 100 hertz because that's where the kick is really punching through. And then I'm just boosting some low end on top of that. So then the next thing we have here is the kick, which sounds like this. So it's pretty simple. It's just like this kind of punchy, really like strong, like low mid-range heavy kind of kick. Like I'll show you on the spectrum here what you're kind of looking for. Like for this kind of stuff, you know, what really separates techno from house is kind of obviously like the kick. And even though this isn't a super big like rumble sort of reverby kick or anything like that, or like a warehouse type of kick or whatever you would call it, it still has that kind of techno kick feel to it. Like that really, like I said, like just deep, powerful, thick kind of energy. So you need to try to find a sample like this for the style, or you could use this one, which is available in the description. But yeah, so it's just the kick, and then I've got that going through a bit of drum bass. You can see here's without it, and then with it, we've got a bit of drive, a bit of boom, and yeah. So then I have the kick and the bass grouped together. The reason for this is just to make sure, like, it really helps to tie together the low end. Like, because normally in one of these kind of techno tracks, you know, you would have like a rumble kick or something like that, where the bass is kind of included with the kick. In this case, to get that same kind of really tight kick and bass sound, we've got these grouped together. So I've got a few effects here. Here's with nothing, and I'll just kind of turn these on and talk about them. So the first thing here, this is what it sounds like dry. The first thing here is this drum bus, which sounds like this. You can hear that's really helping to kind of bring out the kick and bring out the bass and just beef them both up a little bit and make them a little bit fatter. After that, we have this really subtle compression, which sounds like this. You can hear this just helping to kind of gel these together a little. I've got the attack up so it's not messing with the transient of the kick or anything like that. But yeah, just like threshold is really, it's just cutting off those like high peaks and helping to kind of flatten it out a little bit to gel everything. And then finally, we just have this EQ8, which sounds like this. So this is kind of the last little bit of tying everything together. We've got a bit of a low end boost, a bit of a cut around 245 hertz for the muddy frequencies, and then we've got this sort of mid-range boost for the punch in the kick as well as the bass. So that is the kick and bass group. Like I said, I really like doing this because it helps to really make your low end tight. And so the next thing that we have here is this drone, which sounds like this. So what this is it's just playing this chord where it's F sharp and A sharp. I guess it's actually like a major chord, even though this is a very minor sounding track. Basically, we're in D sharp minor. So I just took a D sharp minor chord. You can see D sharp, F sharp, and A sharp. Just get rid of the D sharp. And there you go. So then for the sound on this one, I made this using operator. And so what we've got here is we've got 3 sine waves, you can see, doing some FM. I've got the chorus pitches kind of at different settings. And I've got that second one detuned a little bit as well. I've got those going into this bandpass filter, which is set like this. And then we've got a little bit of an LFO on there doing a bit of a vibrato on the pitch. After that, we've got a bit of chorus. Here's without it. And then with it, you can hear it's helping to really give this some like stereo space and some dimension. And then the last thing we have on here is just a bit of reverb for some space. And then an auto pan doing another faux side chain. So that is the drone. The next thing we have here are these 2 sort of lead sounds, which sound like this. So basically what's going on is we got this kind of call and response. We have this lead playing in the first 2 bars, and then the second 2 bar thing here, we have that little FM stab that just kind of hits and then plays out. So these are kind of playing off of each other, and this is a good thing because, you know, if you just have everything like like this, it can kind of get a little bit too like 1 bar or 2 bar loopy. Like it can sound too much like a 1 or 2 bar loop. But when you have stuff like this, it's kind of, you know, changing. Like that, it kind of helps to make it feel more linear and more like a song. So the first one of these is the lead, which sounds like this. And the way that I made this was using operator. We've just got a square wave going into a bandpass filter, and then we got a little bit of an LFO on there for some vibrato. It's also on the filter. After that, we just have a bit of reverb and an auto pan for the sort of faux sidechain. Pretty simple stuff. I'll show you the notes. It's just playing A sharp and then A sharp an octave up, and then a D sharp there. Pretty simple stuff. And then for the FM stab, which sounds like this on its own, this is just playing D sharp, again, the root note. And what we've got with this is the saw wave doing some FM with these other sine waves. You can see we've got the envelope set like this in the second one, so that's what makes it go kind of like wow. Then those are going into this low pass filter. Here's without it, and then with it. This one's pretty important. You can hear it's got like, it's giving that like, wow type of sound. And yeah, then after that, we just have that going through a bit of reverb. The thing with these two sounds is you have a lot of room to have like a lot of reverb because they're very sparse. Like they kind of just play and then ring out for the rest of the track. So you have room to have a lot of reverb without it getting too messy. Then after that, we just have an auto pan, again, doing another sort of a simulated sidechain. And then an EQ8 cutting out the low end. And that is it for the leads. So the next thing that we have here is the clap, which sounds like this. And so this is 2 layers. It's this one and that one. And so the idea behind this is that, like I was saying with the kick, you really want that like deep, kind of like techno, just very like dark sounding kind of percussion. And this clap on its own just didn't quite have enough to it, so I added in this layer to kind of give it that like deeper, more like low mid-rangey sound. And I feel like it works really well. Like if I turn this off, you can hear when it's back in there, the clap sounds a lot more full and it's a little bit more interesting. So yeah, like I said, just kind of like this one, and then like a more standard clap. After that, we have these sort of like hi-hats slash shakers slash ride things, whatever you want to call them, but they sound like this. So basically what this is it's this shaker layered together with this shaker. So we kind of have like a high-end one, and then like a deeper, more mid-range one to help fill out the sound. On this one, we've also got this echo just doing 16th notes to kind of give it a little bit more space and kind of fit it into the track a little bit more. And then on top of those, we have this ride. So it's just like a 909 ride type of sound. You can see I've got a high pass on it because, yeah, that can be quite messy without it. And that is really it for those. So then I've got all this different percussion in a group as well. Somewhere to the low end bus, it just kind of helps to put all these similar sounds together and make them all sound a little bit fatter by processing them all at the same time. So I've got a bit of processing on here. Here's what it sounds like with nothing. You can kind of hear what I'm saying. Without the processing, this sounds very dry and kind of dull. But then with it, it brings it to life and it helps to bring it into the track a bit more. So the first thing we have here is this reverb. You can see I've just got, yeah, not too much reverb. The dry one's only at 17%. But this really helps to give some space to all of these sounds. And then after that, we just have a bit of drum bus. You can see I've got the drive up a bit. I've got the crunch up a little bit. And this is really helping to make everything a lot fatter. Like here's without it. And then with it, you can hear it makes a really big difference there. So yeah, pretty simple stuff, but definitely putting some processing on like all of your percussion at the same time can help. Like it's a really good way to just make it all really fit together and really kind of fit under the same sort of sonic umbrella. So that is pretty much it for this one. I've shown you everything in this project file, and I hope you guys enjoyed. So that's me it for today, guys. I hope you enjoyed, like I just said. As always, make sure to like this video as well as subscribe, and let me know what you think of this video down in the comments. Let me know what video you want to see me make next. As usual, you can get the project file in the samples from this video in the description. And if you're a patron on my Patreon, check there, because they'll be available shortly. Thank you so much, everybody. All my social media is on the description. Check that out for sure as well. I will see you again tomorrow with another